Well, I don't think we should take our eye off the ball of vote buying or voter inducement. I think that's very important to remember that that does still happen, and it should be condemned, and it should be weeded out wherever it does happen. I think that's not an issue which has completely gone away, but nevertheless, as I said, there have been improvements in that. In other areas, I'd like to see, for example, better access for people with disabilities. Again, in Ekiti, as I was observing there, I saw that there were some physical barriers to people with wheelchairs. You know, you had to climb over ditches to get to polling units, for example. Again, I've raised this with the INEC chair and the commissioners. People with disabilities have just as much right to vote as anybody else. So let's see what we can do to make the polling units much more accessible. For people with sight impairment, with problems with seeing, with reading, ensuring that Braille voting cards, ballot papers are made available. I think all of that is also a very important part of it. And then it's about voter education, about ensuring that people think about what it is that the candidates, what the parties represent, what their issues are, what their manifestos are, and voting on the basis of what they believe is the right thing for them, for their people, for their families, for their communities, based on the policies which those parties put forward, rather than based on the personalities or the benefits which could accrue from voting in one way or another. So I think there's something around voter education as well, and we're helping with that in voter education programs. People have the democratic right to vote for who they choose, but they also need a lot of information on which to base that choice.
But that issue of people living with some form of disability or the other, there was an introduction of the Braille ballot papers, even though they were not spread across all the polling units, as coming from our correspondents out on ground. Is that something you think should be improved on and increased in number? Because quite a number of those that were blind were unable to vote.
Yes, I think that's part of it. Obviously, to read Braille, you need education in the first place, so not everybody who has visual impairments is able to read Braille. So there are other ways in which people can be helped. I know that blind people have gone to the polling units with people that they trust, family members or whatever, so I think enabling that is important. For those who are not completely blind but have visual impairments, I'm thinking of the albino community, for example, providing magnifying glasses at every polling unit so that they can genuinely see what's in front of them on the ballot paper. Again, that's something that I've raised with the chairman of INEC, and he has said yes, that's exactly what they intend to do. So I think things are moving in the right direction. But it's really important that people living with disabilities, and whatever figure you believe, it could be as many as 1 in 10, 1 in 8 people here in Nigeria are living with disabilities. Then giving them the ability to vote and giving them the empowerment is important, as it is with women, as it is with young people, as it is with some of those groups that perhaps in the past have felt less empowered to vote. So I mean, this is a free vote, this is a people's vote, and it's important that all the people should have the opportunity to exercise their free democratic choice.
Let me get your thoughts on vote buying, because it's huge and it's becoming a problem in our electoral process. How can the European Union, for instance, help in trying to see that the level of sophistication of vote buying is discouraged?
Well, I think it's about voter education. Explaining, as I know many people do, and the chairman of INEC himself has made this a major theme, especially since Ekiti, ensuring that the people who have the vote understand that buying votes or selling votes is illegal. It's just as illegal to buy votes or sell votes as it is to stuff ballot boxes or to rig the elections in some other way. So I don't make any distinction between vote buying and vote rigging. All of that is illegal. So if it's illegal, then it's important that it's stopped. If it happens, then it's important that the people responsible are held accountable, are sanctioned. We saw some of that, I know, in Osun State. I think that was a good move. As far as I'm aware, nobody in Ekiti was arrested for vote selling or indeed vote buying. So step by step that's happening. But I do think it's about political parties taking their responsibilities. I think it's about the people themselves refusing to sell their votes and actually supporting a democratic process. After all, if you sell your vote or you buy your vote, that's not necessarily a true reflection of what you feel about the issues at stake. So I think that's a very important part of voter education. It's very much a Nigerian government objective. It's very much an INEC objective. So we're not kind of leading the charge on that. We are supporting what others are saying.
So what roles would the missions of the United Kingdom, the United States and the European Union be playing in the rerun elections in Osun State, considering that you have advocated that peace and violence-free elections be carried out as we saw earlier?
Well, I suppose a number of roles. First of all, we are sending some people back down to Osun State, obviously a smaller number. It's a very small number of polling units. But we will be, the UK mission, the High Commission will be represented there. I understand the US are sending people down there, the EU are sending people down there. So there will be international observers at the polling units tomorrow. I think that's a very important part of that. I would also draw your attention to a statement which was issued by the US Embassy yesterday on behalf of the British, the US,